Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Unscaled Travel Show. Those lovely chimes right there mean it's time for the best travel show in the entire world, and I am a little bit biased. My name is Jeremy Long, here with my co-explorer, Amy, as always.
Hi.
Yes, a little bit biased there. Yeah, we have a fun show because we're talking about one of my favorite places in the entire world because, yay, we get to talk a little history and a little bit of, the human condition a little bit. We're talking about the ruins of Pompeii, the site in Italy. I'm sure it's one of these world history events that most classes probably teach everywhere because it was a big deal.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the only thing going on in 79 AD. Maybe.
You think?
So we found ourselves in Italy. We took a trip south of Rome to Pompeii, which is right by Naples, for a little adventure and everything. But so we're going to get to that. We're going to have some, give you some historical context as well as some know before you go type things from our trip, walking around, looking at the ruins and, kind of talk about our adventures down there. But first, we're coming to you from the Las Vegas, Nevada area. Yeah, it is. At the right inside the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios. And, this is one of those episodes I think our friends over at Diamondback Land Surveying would absolutely love. And they do love whenever we do things like modern marvels and historical stuff, because Pompeii is a living archaeological place. That means it is currently being, unearthed different parts of the city that are still lying, under ash and things like that for the last thousands of years. So,
right.
When you go to Pompeii, some parts may be open, some parts may be closed. It's almost like a little different adventure every time you go there because of the work that they're constantly doing, like every single day.
Right. When we bought our tickets, they told us some areas will be closed. We got a map. They kind of gave us little tips on where to go on the map, but they did say, some areas will be closed because it is an active archaeological dig. Yeah. So you have to just sort of keep that in mind and work around them. Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. It's like a name your own adventure every time you get to go there. But first off, Italy. Let's talk about Italy in general, because we are not a travel couple that has yet gone to like 80 different countries around the world. We're still in the midst of our travel journeys, but we have been to about double digits as far as countries now. Mm-hmm. Where right now in the early parts does Italy fall for you? Is it one of the favorite places you've been?
Yes, absolutely. It's one of the top for me because it was so rich in history. Europe in general just has such a deep history. Saying that, we've been to Asia and same thing. Everywhere we looked, everything's not 100 years old, 1,000 years old. But that's how I felt in Italy. Everywhere we looked we were in the middle of living history. And we just don't have that in the U.S.
Yeah, we really don't. I mean, the furthest ours goes back, the 1700s. I mean, we went to in New York. There were some places that date back to 1700s, and we had the 1600s. But you look at Europe and Asia, these different continents, and it's a different ballgame. They're like 100 years old. What are you? Are you a baby?
So saying that, I cannot wrap my head around something that happened in 79 AD. Just the concept of how far back that is it's unfathomable to me.
Yeah, so we'll give just a very brief, because I could talk about this. Could be an entire episode, just the history of it.
I won't let him go too deep into the history, but you have to talk about it a little bit, right?
Yes, maybe that's another. A different radio show I start. Histories, mysteries. Wait, it's already a thing. Okay, so a brief overview of Pompeii's history and what we're talking about in 79 AD. So at the time, Pompeii is actually a flourishing community. It's got about 15,000 people in it. It's actually a Roman colony. So they are, under Roman rule, and they have and go by Roman laws, but really they're so far out from the actual empire at that time that they're just kind of doing their own thing. And they got this, in Naples, they got this nice little harbor. And so it's actually kind of a playground for affluent families. They're finding out, as time goes on and more things are uncovered and everything. So skip to 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius, which hangs over the area. It's a towering, I bet it was more towering before it exploded. Before this, though, in a lot of context, they really didn't have a word for volcano. They had no idea, really, that the danger of this very active volcano that we have found out over the years, Mount Vesuvius, is one of the most active volcanoes in the entire world.
They thought it was just a mountain.
Yeah. I mean, and it has ties to old Roman mythology, Greek mythology, Hercules and the gods and different things like that. And so one day, they originally thought August of 79, but now they're thinking October of 79. The thing just exploded. I mean, we're talking Krakatoa. Okay, that's a different one. That's a different, if you don't know your history, you're getting some. So this mountain explodes, and over the course of 2 days, different things happen. Pumice rain, smoke and ash. You know, it's very biblical what's happening here. There's a couple of guys named Pliny the Younger and his uncle, Pliny the Elder. I don't know, Pliny the Boomer was off somewhere, probably griping at kids to get off his lawn. But they are like they record what happens in real time. The uncle goes across the river. They get the Navy together. They're trying to get evacuations going. So this is over the course of 2 days. It's pandemonium, as they might say. Basically, the town is buried under about 20 feet of ash and soot and poisonous gas and everything else, basically freezing the town in place at that time in history.
You said it happened over 2 days, but there was like a flash of, I think, the gases or something they said, and that's what actually killed a lot of the people. Because when we were there, you can see these like casts of where they found people's bodies, and they were
ahead, man.
But they were like curled up sleeping.
Yeah. Well, and they're thinking different times because when it first happened, you're talking about a city of about 15,000 people, and they've only uncovered about close to, I think, 2,000 bodies. So they think most people had a chance to get out. Some people, whenever the basically kind of rivers of gas and everything else flash boiled people, froze them in place. Horrific way to die.
Awful.
Of course, it's terrible. But this thing happened and kind of froze everyone in place. Some people were found lying down. Some people in a praying, kneeling position. Mm-hmm. They were instantly killed, so no pain there or anything. But
what I find most fascinating is you said Mount Vesuvius is one of the most active volcanoes. Mm-hmm. I expected Pompeii, because I had no concept of where it was in Italy. I expected Pompeii to be kind of like out in the middle of nowhere, these ruins, like nothing around it.
Yeah.
No, there is a thriving metropolis built around these ruins.
They were like, hey, this is still good land, baby.
Right. And it shocked me, that they would rebuild around these ruins, which I don't know why that shocks me, but we do it all the time. Mm-hmm. But to rebuild at the base of this volcano that destroyed very active volcano that destroyed this entire city, just, are they not scared?
Well, speaking of that, I mean, you'll often see Pompeii is spelled two different ways.
Yeah.
One with one eye and one with two eyes. And that's not an accident when you see it. The one with two eyes is reference to the ancient city that was buried. The one with one eye is talking about the city that's there right now, the city that you're talking about. Pompeii sits right next to Naples, which sits kind of on top of old Pompeii, which is just fascinating. They were like, hey, well, the ground's pretty fertile still.
I mean, I'm glad they're embracing their history. But saying that, apparently they have excellent vineyards around Pompeii because the ground is so fertile.
From the volcanoes and dead people.
But did you see there were so many tours to wineries and vineyards over there?
It was amazing. Keep it right here, folks. We're going to have more about Pompeii. It's Unscaled Travel Show. We'll be right back.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. I'm Jeremy Long here with my co-explorer, Amy.
Hi.
We're coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada in the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios. We're talking about Pompeii, Italy, the ruins of Pompeii, and visiting out there and seeing this tragic event that happened in 79 AD, long ago, a town buried, frozen in time. And you mentioned, real quick, the plaster casts that they have on display there. And these are humanoid forms and everything. Despite the rumor, there are no like actual human beings inside these things. An Italian archaeologist, his name was Giuseppe Ferrelli, I think. If his last name is wrong, I apologize. Something along that line. He came up with the idea. He started finding these voids in the ash as they were excavating different places around the city, and he realized that they were human remains. And what used to be in there were like biological remains and everything. Over time, those kind of go away, but he found that these voids were actually the resting place.
Like
of
where their
people.
bodies were and had decomposed?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
But kind of frozen in time in this ash. So I developed a method to put plaster into these voids and fill it and make these human things that you'll often see if you like Google Pompeii. You'll see these humanoid figures. Those are the kind of final resting poses of people who were caught in the blast at Pompeii. Very sad, but they do have these things like on display. So that might be a little bit of a trigger warning for people who might be, sensitive to those kind of things. So then speaking of, we're going to talk about some good know before you go things that we've learned before going to Pompeii. Number one, we went, I think it was in early October.
Yes.
Whenever we went. And it was still pretty warm, and there's not a whole lot of shade there. So my rule, as always, is don't forget the umbrella, don't forget the sunscreen, and you can bring in like refillable bottles of water and things of this nature because it can stay.
There's really no shade at all. Some of the buildings do provide a small amount of shade, but there's really no tree. Once you're in the actual ruins, there's no trees. Yeah. And you are walking up and down what is technically streets, looking into the different buildings. You can go in some of them. But it was hot. Outside of Pompeii, like to walk up to it, you kind of have to walk through street vendors, basically. And I bought a hat out there because it was so hot and we had already been kind of out that day. I bought a very wide brim hat and I'm very thankful that I did. So in all of our pictures, I'm wearing this hat, but you'll want to bring some kind of shade, sunscreen, and some water if you can, because it's really big. Yeah.
And that's another very good point. Bring comfortable walking shoes.
Absolutely.
It is, I think you might underestimate like just going and, okay, I'm going to tour around a little, forgotten city or something like that. Pompeii was actually pretty big. And the part that they've unearthed so far is pretty big, and they still have a lot more to do. But you're not walking on concrete paved streets like now. It's also stone and rock and a little bit of cobblestone types. You're stepping up, you're stepping down.
And the stair, anywhere there's stairs or steps, they're not smooth because these have been here thousands and thousands and thousands of years, so they are weathered. Other people have been stepping on them for a long time, so everything is a little bit uneven. The one area where we could go up to the stairs, like kind of for that vantage point. Yeah. I just remember holding on very tightly to you and the wall with the other hand because every step was kind of worn down in the middle and it's very uneven.
And it's old Roman architecture. So, it's like uneven steps anyway. Yeah. It's not like the typical 14 inches of step that we know now. Remember coming back down from that watchtower, I stepped off and fell into that guy, and he was like, "Oh, sorry." I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
You almost took this guy out.
We still stay in contact.
And the little staircase was very narrow too, so it was not like a typical staircase. So if you're any claustrophobic at all, you may not want to go up into the watchtower. But everything else is kind of ground level, so it's easy to walk around. But absolutely wear comfortable shoes.
They do. Once you are inside, there are a few different ways. If you don't know the history, you want to learn more about the buildings to get an idea. They do have guided tours that cost, a little bit of money. You can absolutely just walk around yourself. They do give you a map with your ticket that points out all the buildings that they've uncovered, and they have names for and different things. But there also is a very convenient audio tour version that has multiple languages. So no matter what language you might speak, they'll probably have it at the information desk, but that's where you have to get it. They also have a handy-dandy app.
They do. On the map, it has a QR code for you to scan in, and it's basically kind of like the audio tour. But the great thing about the map, when we got there, it was sort of later in the day. We only had a few hours before they closed. And when we bought our tickets and the guy handed us our map, he told us, since you only have a few hours, I would stick to these sections, and the map is color-coded, and each section is its own color. And so he kind of told us the colors that were the highlights of Pompeii. So it was very easy for us to kind of go straight to those sections and see, I guess, not the best things, but the more interesting things in there. And then we did end up having a little bit more time to walk around, but it made it very easy for us to find exactly what we were looking for because the map is color-coded.
Yeah. Exactly. And there are 3 different entrances. There are multiple ways to get to Pompeii. We rented a car and drove around Italy, which is its own experience. It is wild out there. There are also, it's so close to Naples and the surrounding areas that you could take the train, the express train from Rome to Naples. And then there are different trains and shuttles that go all day between Naples and Pompeii. It's such a popular, I mean, we're talking 3 million plus visitors every single year. So it's very close to Naples. And there's also, I mean, you could get a cab or whatever and drive up and they'll drop you at, I think there's 3 different entrances, but all of them are going to be, their own name, your own adventure. Again, from earlier, it's just all kind of different experiences and everything. If you do drive a car, they have plenty of self-parking for a small fee. And we parked pretty close. I think it was right across the street.
Yeah, it was right across the street from the main entrance. There was a fee, but they did in that parking lot have a restaurant, and they were like, if you come back and eat in the restaurant, we'll waive your dinner
parking fee. Yeah.
Or your parking fee.
Yeah, absolutely. And while you're going there, you can bring a small backpack. You're not allowed to bring larger bags or anything. They will check it for you there and hold it for you at the gate. But like anything bigger than like a small backpack, they're going to check and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you trying to do? Sneak out grass or sand or grass? I was trying to make a joke and it sounded dumb.
Funny.
But overall, I mean, in and out was pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. But you are going to want to either get the app or sign up for a tour because there's just not a whole lot of information posted. There's some signs pointing in different directions like, hey, the major thing is this way or a major thing is that way. Inside, you are going to find just a couple of food stalls. And now I think whenever we went, it was closed, but they do have like a food stall that serves wine and cheese.
Oh,
so
really?
You can actually kind of make a little afternoon of it. And they do have like maintained restrooms and things of that nature. Part of it is handicap accessible. A large part of it is not.
Yeah.
So just be forewarned about that. And so when we come back, we are going to talk some more. Pompeii, what our favorite stops were, what we kind of saw. Yeah. It's Unscaled Travel Show. We'll be right back.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. I'm Jeremy Long, and I am here with my co-explorer, Amy Long.
Hi.
We're talking about Pompeii, the UNESCO World Heritage Site that sees 3 million plus visitors every single year. And it's an absolute treat to go check out. It's a little bit of history, a little bit of archaeology. Kind of feel like Indiana Jones when you step in there. And that was just my dream job growing up. And
do you remember?
I'm a radio host.
We weren't even going to go to Pompeii. We were driving through Naples, and I told you, we need to go because I know how much you love history. And you're like, no, it's okay. But it was right there. I mean, all the signs, Pompeii, right this way.
Yeah,
so,
I think there was like 5 different exits, and we passed all of them.
And we passed them all going through Naples, and coming back, we had, still a few hours to kill. So I was like, no, we're going, because I knew you would love it. And you ended up telling me that was your favorite part of our whole trip to Rome.
It was. And it still is. It's very high up there. And once you get inside, I guess if you don't have, I had zero expectations. I had always seen a couple of things on like the history channels and different like Google, and I'm just kind of a history nerd anyway. So I always Googled and saw different images, but I didn't know what to really expect. And I think that's the best way to encounter most places. Have an idea. You don't go in blindly, but have just no expectations whatsoever. So you're not swayed by anybody else's like Google review or Yelp review or anything like that. You can form your own opinion on things. Remember those days when you formed your own opinion about stuff? So we gave you some know before you goes, and we gave you some just like practical tips and a little bit of history. But now like some of our favorite things that we saw inside there. And again, we didn't get to see everything. We arrived later in the day. I think we got maybe 3.5, maybe 4 hours there, which you could easily spend all day.
Absolutely.
There, maybe a few days there. If you explore every single villa and every little outpost they have, it's all really, really fascinating. Get the app or get an audio tour so you have an idea of what the heck you're looking at when you're in there. But let me kick off a question to you here. First, going in there, we pay our ticket. We make our way up through kind of the modernized area where they have the bag check and all of that kind of stuff. But once you get to, the Basilica, once you climb the steps and you are there, first thoughts when you reach kind of the top and you start seeing these buildings open up?
I think that's when I first realized, it's much bigger than I thought. And I still we didn't see everything, so we didn't see how big. But again, I had zero expectation. So I'm thinking it's a couple of buildings.
Yeah.
No, this is an entire city. So you get to the top and you realize like there are actual streets that are still lined with buildings. They may not have roofs, or maybe one of the walls is missing, but largely they are still intact. And that was kind of my first this is going to be a whole lot more than I thought it was going to be.
Well, like you noted earlier that when they do give you a map with your ticket, it is kind of color-coded off into different sections. And I don't know why exactly. I remember the guy telling us, but I can't remember why they did it that way. Maybe it's how they unearthed different parts of the city. But we kind of stayed in, we're going to call it the purple section because it's all purple on the map. Right? You could go to their official website and pull down the map that we're actually looking at now. Kind of walk us through there. We're in the Basilica, and it opens up into the main forum, which is kind of one of the first things you go into.
Yeah.
But
to me, it's like the unofficial town square, I guess.
Yeah.
Like it's this large open area, like a plaza, I guess. And I was surprised by how many people were there, because it was fairly crowded, but it also didn't feel like we were pressed in by people, because the area, it's so big. Again, this town is very large, so there were thousands of people there, but we weren't on top of each other. But in this plaza area, everybody's kind of standing around taking pictures. There are still statues standing from that time. Everybody's just kind of walking around with sort of a look of awe on their face.
Right.
And where do you go first? Where do you start? Because you can go off in almost any direction. So it was like, okay, we have this map. The guy said stay in the purple area. Purple area is straight. So we sort of walked through. And again, you were saying earlier, there's not a lot of signage on site. So you're sort of just going by, I have this map. I know I took a right. So I should be here at this spot. But I was really kind of amazed by how intact some of the mosaics on the floors were still beautifully mosaiced floors.
Right.
Walls that still had like the paintings, gorgeous paintings on the walls with maybe just a few little cracks. Like I really did expect complete and total ruins, not for there to look like, oh, yeah, something happened not too long ago and they're already restoring it. So it was very...
It wasn't like they were putting up areas going like, this is what we think it looked like. I mean, it was very much this is it. This is the paint they used, and this is, I mean, just when we say it was frozen in time, it really was kind of flash frozen in time of what they were doing on that day. I mean, there are parts where you can walk up and see that apparently they had like I don't know if it was a mayor race, or like they had some kind of political race, and one of the walls is like, hey, vote for Giuseppe. I don't know what his name is, but like, or vote for whoever, you know. They had signs for shops up painted on the wall, like eat here, you know. And that was something fascinating to see, that when you walked by, we were kind of at the time going, I wonder what these like things
big bowl looking things
these bowl
are.
things.
Yeah.
That was their version of like fast food. You would go to this little store and they would serve you meals in this like bowl looking things that are still there.
Yeah.
That are still right where they were left. And you can see how they, you know, I don't know, when you think about like ancient times, like what you think they didn't have or did have. You know, these are people that had running water and things like almost indoor plumbing, almost kind of like how we know it. But they had fast food joints. I don't know if they had Burger King.
I was surprised
like,
when we realized these big countertops with bowls built into them is how they served like stews, and even it said some of their drinks were in these, and they would ladle the drink out. And I was just like, oh, it didn't occur to me that they would have restaurants. I don't know why.
It makes total sense. And you go, oh, you know, the only thing they didn't have was like electricity, and they might have had that. I don't know. We don't know where Atlantis is, but we went to the forum. We did, and on the very back side, there is like almost like a watchtower they would use to watch for like fires and animal danger and things like that against
Erupting
the back
volcanoes.
wall. Yeah, no, they missed that one. But you can climb it, go to the very top, and you get a great panoramic view of not only the city, but Mount Vesuvius behind you, how close the city was to the actual shore.
Right.
So they had that very, very active port. And then going down the streets, you pass by so many different villas, and all of these villas were controlled by different families. Yeah. And you could tell how rich or important the families were by the size of that house. Kind of like today, by the size of that house, man. Some of these villas, like the House of the Fawn and different places like that, are just mind-blowingly big, especially for that kind.
Yeah, and they would have gardens inside of it, because that's one of the things that they've done is rebuild some of the gardens in the way they think it probably looked back then. So these houses, you'd walk in and they'd have a courtyard in the middle with these beautiful sculpted gardens in it.
They had fountains,
yes.
in the middle, like. And then they would have like their servants' quarters on the back, which were little bitty huts.
Yes.
And stables. Like we saw horse stables that were kind of attached to the house, and you know, they kept their horses right there. And even just the streets, seeing the ruts where the carts went down every single day, where over time they just ground out their own path. Yeah. Was, I mean, just to me, I love it. I fell in love with it. I was like, just, you know what? When Vesuvius erupts on me, just put me right back here in Pompeii with my people. I don't know. I'm actually half Asian, so that doesn't make sense. But when we come back, we're going to have more about Pompeii. This is the Unscaled Travel Show.
Unscaled Travel Show is brought to you by Diamondback Land Surveying. For all your land surveying needs, contact Diamondback Land Surveying at 702-823-DBLS.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unscaled Travel Show. I'm Jeremy Long, here with my co-explorer, Amy Long. We're coming to you from the Diamondback Land Surveying Studios in beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada. We're talking about the ruins of Pompeii, and I'm laughing because I'm looking at your little map over there that we got. You're like rediscovering what we discovered.
I love maps anyway, but
you do.
How weird is that? I love
it's not
maps.
weird. You just have a odd fascination.
You know,
with
my
maps.
very first job was working for a company that turned paper maps into digital maps, because this is the 90s, so we're starting to use the internet, right? But my first job was recreating maps on a computer.
I did not know that about you. What else? What's your name? Where are you from? We were talking about the ruins of Pompeii. We gave you some tips before you go. We're talking about our time walking around there. Some of the best things that we saw, and really it's hard to fit all of that and encapsulate all of that into one show. We're doing our best here, even though we're getting sidetracked.
There's so much to see. As you said, you can spend an entire day there and probably still not see everything. Yeah. But as we said, it is an active archaeological site. So they are currently uncovering things, and there are places that you can't go into because they're working. Mm-hmm. But there are also places that they have roped off, not because they're still working there, but because either it's so delicate, they don't want people damaging it anymore, or in some of the houses, they would have the doorway roped off, but you could look in, and they would have stacks of uncovered pottery and things that they used at that time. And it's really kind of fascinating to see how, things haven't changed a whole lot when it comes to like dinnerware, really. They had plates, they had bowls, they had pitchers. I mean, it's all kind of the same. It was just made out of clay, but what's it made out of now? Yeah. Porcelain? I don't know. But it was really interesting to see that. And the more you walk through, the more you kind of just get a sense of who these people were. And as you were saying, we can't wrap our head around how long ago it was, but we kind of have this thought of like, it was the Dark Ages. They had nothing. And it's like, no, they were actually pretty advanced civilization for being, 79 AD. And you kind of get that understanding. Because remember, we were walking around and we were seeing holes like around the tops of some of the walls. And we're like, what is that? And then we realized that was where the beams were that held the second floor to some of the buildings that no longer had a second floor.
Right. So, they would have the houses that would have the second floors that were either blown off or caved in or whatever. Then also, I don't know if you noticed, walking the streets, and the homes on the outside had holes in them at various levels too for shade. They would hang things over there, and they would, put shade on hot days and things of that nature. They had what we would consider crosswalks.
Yes. At
various intersections, and they were lifted off the ground. And everyone was kind of looking around, and you could see the mouse turning on the wheel in everybody's head. Like, what's going on? Why is it raised anyway? Well, you think about it. You have animals and rainwater and other things flowing in your city streets. And what do animals do? Sometimes they use the bathroom and stuff. And so you don't want to be walking down there. They were all about cleanliness, too. They had working plumbing of their kind, And so you would just walk across these steps that were raised up from the ground, so you didn't have to get your new Jordans dirty or something like that when you're walking around in Pompeii at that time. We also happened upon the amphitheater.
Yeah.
Not the large gladiator, like sporting arena that is kind of far out from the city center, but the smaller one where things like plays or poetry or probably, town gatherings and meetings and stuff like that took place. And it's even rumored that one of the emperors, maybe Nero or someone like that, came there and actually performed on that stage. So, a lot of the Caesars or something. Yeah. But that was really fun too, because they have a whole little backstage area, and
they did. And there's actually, there's two smaller ones side by side. There's a teeny, but a really small one, and then like a medium sized one. And we walked in there, and you can walk on the stage. Remember, there were kids up there playing. A lot of people just sitting on the benches, well, not benches, stones, I guess. Yeah. But you could hear it had fantastic acoustics. And you're like, no wonder they put on plays here. This is where they have their town hall meetings, because we could hear people talking very well who were down on the stage area, and we were sitting way at the top. So they had built it for acoustics perfectly. Yeah.
What do you think some of the plays they put on there were?
I don't know. You think they did Shakespeare?
Chicago. That's what I was thinking.
Oh, okay.
Or like Wicked. Well, that would have been a good one. Phantom of the Opera. And that place would have been, it would have killed. There are also other examples, like the Villa of the Mysteries. The Villa of the Mysteries they don't know who it was exactly tied to, But it is noted because it has frescoes of mysterious initiation rites. Something's going on the wall that, you know, they were like, what the heck? Like, you wouldn't just normally have this. Like, here's my Thomas Kincaid painting, and here's the initiation rites that we have for our Skull and Bones thing. So they think it was like some sort of like mystery house
like
or something.
A private club.
Ooh, yeah, like one of those clubs. You find them here in Vegas a lot, but we're going to leave that right there.
But remember, that just brings me to a good point. There were several places where they kind of had plexiglass over the walls to preserve the artwork that was there. So, because they don't want you to ruin and destroy it
people do
anymore.
It all the time.
People do it all the time.
A guy was just caught carving his name into the wall. And when they got him, he was like, "Oh, I didn't know you couldn't do that." Are you dumb? Like, what? Don't do that. It's a World Heritage Site.
Right.
It's like people would go out to Yosemite or Yellowstone and like graffiti the rocks or something like that. Oh, I just wanted to leave my mark. Well, you know what? You get blown up in a volcano. That's one way to leave your mark. All right. Stop carving your name.
But at Pompeii, most of it is completely open, so you can walk around. But they do have places, again, that are roped off or with plexiglass to preserve the integrity of what they've uncovered. Mm-hmm. And again, I was surprised by how well intact some of this stuff still is. I took a picture of one of the floors at the entrance of a house, and it had a mosaic of dogs. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Teeny tiny little tiles, and it looked like dogs. Yeah. It was gorgeous. And I was like, how? And again, I don't know what I thought these people were doing way back then, but I guess I wasn't thinking they were making art. I don't know.
You were just sitting around all just philosophizing?
Maybe. I don't know.
I don't know.
I was impressed. Let me just say that.
Well, if you're there are, it's not just Pompeii. There are other areas that you can explore. Once you've had your fill there, Naples, like we said many times, Naples is right next door. The actual modern city of Pompeii is right next door. It's actually right in the middle of all of it, and you could catch little trains and go everywhere. But I think one thing that a lot of people miss is going to actually Mount Vesuvius. Mm-hmm. You can go up there to the top. You can peer into the volcano. That's still an active volcano,
exactly.
So don't overstay your welcome. But I don't know. But it gives you a sense because you see Vesuvius off in the distance, but getting up close to it will give you a better idea of how violent this explosion was, because it exploded again a couple of times in the 1700s, later in the 1400s. I mean, and I think the last time it went off was like 1944.
Really?
Wasn't that long ago.
I didn't know that.
And it's a very, very, like, every time there's like lava flows and stuff like that. So it gives you a sense of how cataclysmic this event was. To me, I love to hike. You know that. I just don't think I could hike up to the top. No, you can take a bus. I think they have buses up there.
Okay, well,
no,
even then.
No.
We've seen movies where volcanoes erupt, they melt vehicles in the street. Yeah. I don't want to do that.
You don't want to test that theory to see if that happens?
But more power to anybody else that wants to. I'll fly over it in a helicopter and look down.
It's very, like an hour and a half away, or about an hour, depending on how you drive. The Amalfi Coast, the very famous Amalfi Coast, Serrano and Salerno and all these places are right there along the coast. So it's an area worth exploring. Even, if you make a compromise with your spouse, one of you likes history, the other one doesn't. Hey, let's go by Pompeii for a little bit. And then I promise I'll take you to the Amalfi Coast where there are just tons of people.
Which you don't want to drive there either.
It's overrun. Yeah. Just take a bus.
You want to go, yes, but take a bus. You do not want to drive. We learned that lesson the hard way. Nowhere to park. So we got to drive through the city of Amalfi.
Absolutely nowhere to park.
Nowhere to park.
Well, we hope you had fun with this. Thanks for joining us on this trip through time, talking about the ruins of Pompeii. Remember, catch us online at unscaledtravelshow.com or check out our YouTube channel. It's really cool. Unscaled Travel Show. We'll see you guys next time.